Hey everyone, I'm Matt and welcome to the Good Trouble Show. The UAP UFO subject remains front and center with an avalanche of news and developments. You have, of course, Lou Elizondo's new book, which is #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, Eminent, which is just fantastic. I'm so happy for him. It was announced that Nancy Mace will chair new UAP hearings in Congress, but perhaps the most important item of business would be this. The United States Senate has returned from recess and will vote for the UAP Disclosure Act of 2024. It's actually called the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Act, Disclosure Act of 2024. And this amendment will be for inclusion in the Senate version of the National Defense Authorization Act. And I have some news about this, which is really important, making sure audio and everything here is good. Okay, so let me back up for a bit. This legislation is absolutely critical that it go through. This is the best chance that we have. There are other things happening. Of course, I mentioned the UAP hearing coming up. That's a big thing. I know of some of the people that will be testifying, and I think it's going to be big, and it will be something that members of Congress, will say the members of Congress that are not friendly to this subject, will be impossible to ignore. I can also say to members of the Pentagon and the intelligence community that are watching this, day of reckoning is coming. And it is either up to you, everyone in the Pentagon, the Department of Energy, and in the intelligence community on how this goes. It is either going to go well or it's not. And that is going to be up to you, because either way, this is coming out and people will be held accountable. Mark my words. We know who you are. So the best thing to do is to come clean. Come clean with Congress. Come clean with the American people. The path to reconciliation for people in the Department of Energy and the Pentagon, in the CIA. We know what's going on. Members of Congress know what's going on. Members of Congress know that you in the Pentagon have been lying, abjectly lying to the American people, to Congress. This is going to come to an end. And it is up to all of you in the Pentagon, in the CIA, in the Department of Energy, as to how well this is going to go for you. Mark my words. So, going back to this legislation, as I mentioned, this is important. It is important in that this is the best chance for digging into all of this. There are other mechanisms that will be executed if this doesn't happen. But here's the bottom line, is that this legislation is in trouble. The legislation is in trouble. And the only way that we can maximize our chances of digging this thing out is for everyone watching to call tomorrow morning, call your lawmakers, call your congressman, call your congresswoman, call your senator. Call the senators that are sponsoring this bill. Call the office of Senator Mike Rounds. Call the office of Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Call the office of Senator Chuck Schumer. Call the office of Senator Heinrich. Call the office of Marco Rubio. All of you watching, you have the power to make this happen. But I want to read to you what is going on. So this is from someone that I regularly speak with in the Senate. That it was previously in the Senate. Chairman of Senate Armed Services Committee Jack Reed has now stated that it is unlikely that the Senate Armed Services Committee and House Armed Services Committee will proceed this will be Senate Armed Service and Senate Intel, will proceed to conference informally which could very well mean that the bill is not even going to be called up for a vote on a motion to proceed, which would include a manager's package of amendments. If that is what Reid means, we are in trouble. But it is possible that Reid means only that there will not be actual floor debate on the bill after the bill is brought to the floor via vote on motion to proceed, in which case we are still in the game. It is remotely possible, absent a vote on a motion to proceed on a substitute bill that includes a manager's amendment package, the House might agree to consider some filed Senate amendments in the informal conference. But I would bet that the House will insist that only such amendments they will consider are only the ones where there is no objection. So, in other words, it's likely that the House would insist on a unilateral veto right. So what I was told to stress here is that the UAPDA, UAP Disclosure Act, is in trouble. Not because it's opposed in substance, but procedurally. That is, the only path for including legislation like this that spans across multiple committee jurisdictions is for the Senate as a whole to consider and to vote on it. There are many amendments in the queue for consideration in the National Defense Authorization Act. If Senator Chuck Schumer is unable, due to the press of the Senate calendar, to bring it up for the NDAA, all pending amendments would fall away, not be included in the bill. So really, what we're advocating for here, number one, and this is what all of you that are watching right now, and if you have friends that are interested in this topic that aren't watching this show, I would encourage to tell them about this, have them watch the very beginning of the show at least, so they know what to call, what to say to the senators and the congressmen in calling regarding the UAP Disclosure Act. So number one, the Senate should include the UAPDA in the substitute National Defense Authorization Act that would be part of the motion to proceed on the NDAA. And secondly, the Senate should take the time to vote affirmatively on that motion so that at least the Senate NDAA would be regarded by the House as including a bunch of amendments, including, of course, the UAPDA. Ultimately, if there's no vote on a motion to proceed, that is, if Schumer concludes he doesn't have the time on the calendar to go through that, we can't blame him. This is a procedural thing that is going on. It would have nothing to do with Senator Schumer or Senator Round's support on this. And the long and short of it, and I've said this to everyone that watches this show, that none of these folks, the Pentagon, the CIA, the Department of Energy, the executive branch, which has been running amok with this topic, doesn't matter if it's a Republican administration or a Democratic administration, they've been running amok with this topic. And it is time all of this silliness come to an end. You cannot have a democracy. You cannot have a healthy democracy when you have 50 or so senior executive service level people in the government and the equivalent executives in private aerospace. I'm talking about Lockheed Martin. I'm talking about Northrop Grumman. I'm talking about Aerospace Corporation. You cannot have this collusion, this illegal collusion of aerospace executives colluding with members of the Pentagon, the CIA, and the Department of Energy to keep all this stuff illegally hidden from Congress. Members of Congress, I know that there are senators and members, congressmen and women that watch this show along with their staffers. I would say to you, now is the time to take back your power. You have a constitutionally mandated oversight of the executive branch that the Pentagon, the CIA, the Department of Energy, and these aerospace executives are literally giving you the middle finger. They're giving the Constitution the middle finger, if you want to think about it that way. But it's disgusting, and it has to come to an end. And the only way, all of you in Congress, for all of this to come to an end and to mitigate what has been an existential threat to our democratic republic is to get up and do something about it. You have the power. The executive branch, I know there's a lot of arguments between having the executive branch having an incredible amount of power over the legislative branch. But folks, this is time this ends. And again, saying to all of you, either if you're an executive in private aerospace, and trust me, if you're Boeing, you're Lockheed, or any of these folks, and it is found that you have not been truthful in your Security Exchange Commission reports or your financials, and you have not been truthful with your shareholders, the level of criminal liability that all of you in the C-suite will be under will be unlike anything you've ever seen, because you've misrepresented the valuation of your company. Now, people in the Department of Defense, in the Pentagon, in the CIA, in the Department of Energy, this is coming out. There are hearings that will be coming up. This is not going away. As hard as Susan Go and all of these debunkers that are on somebody's payroll that are trying to throw a bunch of I don't know what you want to call it, but chaff into the air. This isn't going away, folks. And how this goes for all of you that have hidden this illegally from congressional oversight, all of you who have illegally engaged in whistleblower retaliation. I'm talking about people in the Office of Global Access for the CIA. I'm talking about Douglas Wolf, who was helped start the Office of Global Access. Congress, if you want to subpoena somebody to find out exactly what the Office of Global Access has been up to, that's who you need to subpoena. Because I can tell you, the Office of Global Access, operating in a denied territory, recovering, they're good at recovering things like loose nukes. Well, they're also good at recovering something else. And members of Congress should know about it. Members of Congress, you cannot legislate when you are in the dark. You cannot legislate when the Pentagon lies to your face. You cannot legislate when the CIA lies to your face. You cannot legislate when the CIA lies about Havana syndrome. You cannot legislate. All of us that put all of you, all of these good men and women, Republican and Democrat, into office, you can't do your job. You simply cannot do your job when you are not being told the truth. And mark my words, you are not being told the truth. All of this is classified under one of two ways. It's under a PED, under Presidential Emergency Action Directives, which are the same level as continuity of government operations, and the nuclear war plan, which is, I think, called Op Plan 8088. The other way it's classified, members of Congress, is under the Department of Energy, under the 1904 Atomic Energy Commission. Atomic Energy Act. This is all classified as, I don't have my notes here because I'm on a bit of a rant, but if you go back to one of my other videos, I go into detail. But essentially, UAPs, the crashed materials that JSOC and the Office of Global Access and these private aerospace contractors have been picking up, oh, by the way, without congressional oversight, All of that is classified as special nuclear material. It's classified under restricted and previously restricted data. So if you want to go digging, members of Congress, that's where you need to dig. I was looking to see if I have my notes on that, but I don't. Anyway, the people that I know you're talking to, because I talk to them all the time, they can tell you exactly how these programs are classified and how they are using these kind of loopholes in the Atomic Energy Act to hide all of this. And I would also remind all of you too that all of this stuff that's classified in the Atomic Energy Act, the president does not have unilateral authority to declassify it. It's like the president can't go and just decide he's going to give a nuclear weapons design to Vladimir Putin. The classification infrastructure is not built that way. That it has to be approved by a committee, which are, again, these SES folks in Department of Energy and the Pentagon, and I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but the CIA. So this misnomer that the president can just pull this stuff out of the bag and say, ta-da, here it is, that is not accurate. They classified this by design to make sure the president can't leak it because it falls under special nuclear material. This falls under the Espionage Act. And if you violate the Espionage Act, the punishment is execution. We know what happened to the Rosenbergs. So that is why people don't talk, because this is classified in the DOE and it's under this provision where it's serious business if they leak this. It is a total abuse of that classification authority. It is not meant to do that. They have Havana syndrome is classified in the same bucket as UAP in the Department of Energy. So members of Congress, when the CIA is telling you that they don't know anything about Havana syndrome, they are flat out lying to your face. It is classified in the Department of Energy under special nuclear material. I think it's called transclassified nuclear information. That's a classification bucket. So members of Congress, that's where you need to do your digging, because that's where they have hidden all of this, and they stuffed it into the DOE and into PEDS, Presidential Emergency Action Directives, because they know you in Congress do not have the legal authority to look into it. They know this. That's why they stuffed it in there, to hide it from you, to legally hide it from you. It's un-American, and it is absolutely wrong. That's all I have to say. So I hope every one of you are as hopping mad about this as I am. We've seen the abuse that people like whistleblowers Lou Elizondo have endured. We've seen the abuse that whistleblower David Grusch, has endured. I've been privy to some of the physical threats that they have endured, and I can tell you, it's not my place to share, but I can tell you there is nothing more un-American when you have the Department of Defense throwing our men and women who served our country and gave it all under the bus. That is not what our founding fathers meant for this country. That is not what this Constitution stands for. And the only way this is going to change is for members of Congress to step up to the plate, pass the UAP Disclosure Act. It is time. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for all of you in Congress to absolutely make your mark on American history and leave the kind of legacy to your children that you should be leaving. There you go. So, everyone tomorrow, please please do your thing. Please call your congressman. And yeah, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to go through our little commercial here. So, of course, please hit the subscribe and thumbs up buttons on YouTube. Leave a comment and let us know what you think about this episode. You can also find us on Twitter. I still call it Twitter, on X, at A Good Trouble Show, and everywhere else at The Good Trouble Show. You can also find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Search for The Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford. And as always, if you would like to chip in to help keep the lights on, we don't have any sponsors. We are completely supported by people like you that watch the show. You can become a Patreon member by going to www.patreon.com/The Good Trouble Show. And for the price of a coffee, you can support our work. There you go. Okay, so our next guest is an intelligence professional for SAIC, or Science Applications International Corporation, as a nuclear campaign analyst, and supports the Secretary of the Air Force and the Air Force Studies and Analysis Division while she was an analyst at the National Geospatial, it's a mouthful, Intelligence Agency. She was a member of the UAP Task Force. This is her first time ever to go public with her experience. Please welcome Sarah Gam. Sarah, how are you?
Hi, I am great. Thank you. That was a good intro.
Well, thank you. Well, thanks. I tend to go on a bit of a rant sometimes, but this is just such a critical time. We have had 70 plus years of this just lie after lie after lie from the Pentagon. And as Chris, we had Christopher Mellon, former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, on our show, I think it was Monday, I believe. Yeah, Monday. And as he pointed out, there is such distrust in the government that the path to reconciliation for the government is going to be so much better if they rip off the Band-Aid and do it now. Because if they keep kicking this can down the road and denying it, when the truth does come out and names get named, which will end up happening, boy, it's going to be something else. Okay, this is all about you. Firstly, thank you very much for coming on the show. I know that this takes just an incredible amount of bravery. And my question to you before we start digging into this, and I want to dig into somebody that doxed you yesterday. We're going to address that at the very beginning. But why are you doing this?
My first gut response is why not? It's kind of given me a lot of courage lately with Lou Elizondo's book that came out. It was, the ending of that really helped me, light a match and want to talk and to help validate and maybe help give somebody else courage to come out as well. With James Fox's film coming out as well, it's just, I don't know if I believe it's the right time, but the stars have aligned right now, and why not? Yeah.
Why not? Now, as I mentioned yesterday, New York Post journalist, which I would use the term journalist loosely, a guy by the name of Stephen Greenstreet, he doxed you, which I would remind everyone is a violation of Twitter Terms of Service Agreement. And I would encourage everyone here to not only report Stephen Greenstreet, but I would also encourage everyone to call the New York Post. I meant to pull it up, but there is a journalist code of ethics that every American journalist is supposed to sign. And it is every journalist's creed. And one of the things in this journalist's creed is to not willingly do harm. And this is what this guy does. He's no journalist. He's more of he's nothing. But anyway, so what he meant to do was, he basically was an impotent attempt to smear you by talking about your paranormal work, your psychic work. And I just have to say, I'm so sorry this happened. this is how these guys operate. They operate in the gutter. They are the lowest of the low. Many of them, I think, are just plain psychopaths. But I just want to see, what do you have to say about this? Your psychic work. I know that's not why you're on the show. You're here to talk about your experience with UAP while working at NGA and on the UAP Task Force. But what would you like to say to everyone about this?
Yeah, that was not really a surprise that he did this. He did reach out to me last year for interviews, and I did not respond. So I knew something was coming one day. Didn't expect that to be yesterday, but I mean, what he talked about on my jobs and my psychic mediumship work are all true. You could go out there and watch some of the live ghost hunt videos if you want. I am very proud of who I am from all aspects of life. Took me a long time to become proud of every bit of me and every cell. I am so grateful for this journey, the unexpected turns that I've had, but I have accepted it all and I am who I am. I appreciate when you said this wasn't supposed to be the focus of tonight, because it's definitely not. I'm happy to come back on another time or talk somewhere else about more of the spiritual stuff. But for now, I actually I was a little flattered because most of it was true, and I'm proud of all of the work that I've done in my life.
And one question to you, and we of course we've spoken about this before you were on the show, but people having in the CIA and the intelligence community, there are a lot of people that are there that have paranormal abilities, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. My last job that I had, my program manager knows all about all of my gifts and my abilities and what I do, and he cared less. I was working in a compartmented program, and no one cared. Some of my coworkers knew. No one. It doesn't even bat an eye. No, it doesn't come up in conversations. No one cares. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, look, as Lou pointed out, even police use psychics and mediums and whatnot to find missing people, and a lot of times it ends up working. I truly believe some people have these gifts. Clearly, you do, and you wear it as a badge of honor. It is absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. Quite the opposite. It's something to be proud of that you have been blessed with this gift, and so ignore these folks would be my advice to you. These people are up to no good. They mean harm. They mean to harm you, and that is unfortunate that we have people like that guy from New York Post there. So we're going to leave it with that because this show is about you. It's not about that. And I'm so glad you came on the show. So tell us a bit about your educational background. I think it's pretty interesting.
My undergrad is in astrophysics, but on paper it is physics. So if anybody does look that up, it is physics. But for legal reasons, it's not on paper for astrophysics. Anyways, I am actually on the advisory board of the physics department that I graduated from as well. So we have meetings once a year. I love it. I get to geek out and nerd out all I want and see professors and see what students are doing. I got my master's in countering weapons of mass destruction, and that was a fellowship program through the National Defense University, paid for actually by the government, DoD, specifically the Navy. Unfortunately, the program doesn't exist anymore. It closed last year or 2 years ago. Now I forget, but very, very unfortunate, very sad day. But it was a fellowship program through Missouri State University. They have a satellite campus in Virginia. So I kind of got 2 degrees through that as well, a fellowship certificate, and then the diploma as well.
And so what is a degree in countering weapons of mass destruction? What does that entail? Like, I know what weapons of mass destruction are, but with a degree with that, what do you do with that? I'm just operating from a place of ignorance.
No, it's okay. It's actually a common question because it is kind of broad. And I also had no idea what I was signing up for. Didn't expect to get accepted in the program either. I just thought this sounded really cool, and I'd have my degrees from the same place. But it consists of learning the history about WMDs and the Manhattan Project. And so I went in knowing how things go boom because of my physics background, but I never really learned the policy of things and diplomacy, how to properly write. I used to joke that I science, not English, and I had to learn how to English very quickly. Had to learn argumentative essays and all kinds of stuff. So we learned a broad spectrum of things, and then kind of ended up specializing in like a few items, I guess you could say. So we did have some classified classes. They went up to secret, so that was pretty neat, being able to learn in a class environment, in a classified level every once in a while. Classmates, we get pretty close because we see each other more than some of them see their own families. We covered all kinds of things. We had to read the 9/11 Commission report. So since today's 9/11, I thought it was actually important to mention that too. And prayers to all the people out there who lost families. What else? We covered the gamut. My thesis was actually a non-traditional WMD, so I used water as a WMD. So like a dam, purposely breaching a dam and causing indiscriminate death and destruction, and other things that dealt with water, like cyber attack and hacking into a structure. I don't know. Did I answer that properly?
Yeah, no, you totally did. Okay, so you graduate college. What was your first job in national security?
I actually worked for Lockheed Martin, and I was a systems engineer. I was at a NRO ground station on Fort Belvoir.
And that's National Reconnaissance Office, correct?
Oh, yes.
And what does the NRO do specifically?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. One of my cats is deciding that he wants to join.
Bring him on. Everyone's welcome on the Good Trouble Show.
Yeah. So what does NRO do? NRO builds and operates satellites, so classified satellites. And where I was working was a ground station for operating them.
Got it. And what other positions have you held in the intelligence community?
I've had a lot. I don't think we have time for that. People probably don't care about some of these.
This is good. This is all understanding your qualifications.
Well, thank you. I again started off at this ground station and was a young thing fresh out of college in charge of some pretty big stuff that was a little bit unbelievable. But this path ended up leading me down to supporting the Joint Collaboration Center, which unfortunately is closed now. But it was a 24/7 operations cell that supported. The goal was to support the warfighter, because the person that created it and founded it, he unfortunately has passed away, but he was under attack in Afghanistan and needed help. And the result was him creating this 24/7 cell. And I ended up being a SAR, synthetic aperture radar image scientist. So SAR isn't like what you take on your cell phone. It's kind of like sonar on a boat, where something might be a log or a big fish, or you don't know, use your imagination, might be something else. So SAR isn't a pretty picture like that. There's a lot of math and science behind it. And I ended up falling in love with it. And it was good job security, because people also didn't like to look at the imagery as well and to interpret it. But kind of like physics, once your brain clicked on to certain aspects of physics, you got it. And that's how this was. I really fell in love with it, fell in love with the community. My mentors were the top of leadership at the time, and most of them still are. So I was in good hands and fell in love with something and had a passion. So then I ended up going to NGA and switched over to be a Govy. I started out as a SAR image scientist for many years, got to do some really, really incredible stuff. I was in the right seat at the right time. Supported some Mosul Dam in Iraq things, and also CJTF OIR, which is Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve, for defeating ISIS and fighting against ISIS. It was the airstrike and the air fight, no boots on the ground, that President Obama that he established. It was pretty incredible. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East. One of those years that I was supporting it is, I'm from Missouri. I've never experienced sandstorms or 125-degree plus heat, and I did for the first time ever. I and so that ended up leading me to be an image analyst. Ended up rotating to be an image analyst and supported Hezbollah, or not supported. I covered Hezbollah issues, and then I got recruited into the research director at NGA. I was a research scientist for them for many years, focused on other things, went back to my SAR passion, and ended up working on some SAR imagery again. And that's also how I got on the task force. And then after that, another cool job I do want to talk about, I know people are probably getting bored right now, but that's actually really important in this part in this podcast, is I got a joint duty assignment at ODNI, and JDAs are like a 2-year, and sometimes you could end up getting more time frame, but mine was a 2-year assignment at ODNI to NCBC, National Counterproliferation and Biosecurity Center, where I was a nuclear strategist there. I forgot my job title for a second. Nuclear counterproliferation strategist. There we go.
Hey, I forget what I'm doing on this show half the time, so I completely understand that. So
the cat's totally distracted me too. I don't want to knock over things.
Yeah, blame it on the cat. Now I got flustered. So what exactly does the NGA? Because we hear all these government acronyms. You have DOD, CIA, ODNI. What does NGA do? Because we know that's what David Grusch worked for.
Mm-hmm. NGA, so national, like you said earlier, National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency. We used to joke that the I is silent because it's hyphenated. So NGA and NRO basically have to work together. So NRO is they build the satellites and operate. This is my cat. Build the satellites and operate the satellites.
You can show the cat.
And NGA. Well, we'll see if he jumps up. He'll probably jump up here in a second.
Okay.
And then NGA will take that imagery and do image analysis with it. And like what I was doing with image science, I was able to create and help test some like different algorithms to pull stuff out. So NGA also they also use commercial imagery, which commercial is unclassified. So, yep, here he is. This is Krypton, everybody. Say hi.
Ah, kitty cat. Hi, Krypton. What a cutie.
Yeah, I love this. They also use unclassified imagery, but NGA was first known for I forget what their original name was. That's a bad employee, BEMA, but they specialized in cartography and mapping. So that was the foundation of the agency, was working with imagery, doing mapping, cartography, I believe back to like World War II.
The cat's attacking. It looks like. Okay, yeah. So that's fantastic. These are good details that I think kind of fill in the picture, because all of us so often in this topic hear these things and we have no idea what they stand for, or some do, some don't. I always say my knowledge is like a piece of Swiss cheese with a bunch of holes in it. So I have some photos here of you that I'd like to show everyone. So what is this? This is what Missouri State.
Yes, that is when I graduated from my master's program. That was a very happy day. I got to sleep a lot after that. It was I mentioned earlier, it was a fellowship program, so I kind of got 2 degrees. We had to work full time while we were going through this program, and I was way far out of my comfort zone doing all of this stuff. So that big smile is also a smile of relief.
I'll bet. Okay, let's see. Next one here. You hanging out with Elon?
No, I did not. I have not met him. I have met some other execs in SpaceX, but I was invited. I was listed as a VIP for the first Starlink launch. And that was actually about a week after I turned in my last grad school paper. So I was so high on life because I could finally sleep and didn't have to take homework and heavy books with me everywhere I went and a laptop. So I literally turned in my last paper and had to go to actually a meeting in Miami at Southcom, Southern Command, and then drove up for the launch. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, and what do we have here? This is the blurred photo. I blurred out your face, but this is the unblurred. I mean, we blurred out the other folks because those are obviously intelligence officials. So, what was this award for?
Yes, that is one of my proudest moments. So I mentioned earlier that I did a lot of Mosul Dam support. So that was an award that we got. We were recognized for supporting the structure, helping save literally a million lives. I also helped create. I was one, of course, of a team because no one ever does something. Well, maybe you do it by yourself, but I definitely didn't. I was a part of a team to help create a new GeoInt capability. GeoInt is geospatial intelligence, which basically refers to classified imagery. So they still use that new capability today.
Okay, and then lastly, this one.
Nice. That was when I was at ODNI, and that flag in the background is the NCBC seal. It was actually before the name change. It was called NCPC at the time. Congress changed the name the month I left the center, but there was a team award, another team, all of us that led WMD campaigns. And so the leads ended up getting these awards. We did a lot of work, a lot of foundation work. So a lot of this didn't really exist much before we had to work together, and the teams were divided up into countries. And so I was in charge of multiple aspects of the country. So WMD consists of like missiles and nuclear and biological chemical. So each of those aspects I was in charge of reporting, and had a team, and we all worked together, and we had to create reports for finding intelligence gaps, so key intelligence gaps, and helping bridge those, working throughout the entire DoD, not even intelligence community, works a lot with DOE, all kinds of other entities in order to fill those intelligence gaps.
So question for you, important question. What's James Clapper like? Is he a guy you'd want to hang out and have a beer with?
I will say my encounter with him was very brief. He was super polite. I'm sure it was a long day for him because it was an award ceremony. So he was getting up there doing these photos with a lot of people. So yeah, he was super polite, but it was a brief encounter. So I can't claim. I mean, I'm happy to have a beer with him or some wine, but I can't. Yeah, I don't know much more than that.
Yeah, copy that. Okay, so let's move on. So clearly you hold a security clearance. What clearance is that, if I may ask?
Yeah, I have TS, top secret, SCI, secret compartmented information, and I'm able to get read into SAP programs. If you're at NRO, there are reserve programs. So I hold, I guess one of the highest clearances you can. And I've also had a Q clearance as well when I was at ODNI.
So I'm curious what you think about. I know there's talk of remerving the Minuteman III with putting the other two warheads back on there. What's your opinion on that?
I cannot comment. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail tomorrow or tonight.
Okay, trick question. I was going to see if you would slip up there, but I can tell you're not going to talk. But we are going to talk about UAPs now. As you mentioned, part of your specialty is the analysis of sensor data, satellite imagery, and whatnot. Correct? Can you maybe give us a little bit more detail on what kind of thing is, in a general way? Obviously, we don't want to cross into anything classified, but in your job, what are the sorts of open things that you can talk about that are open in terms of, I look at radar or I look at telescopes or whatnot? Like, what do you do when you're analyzing imagery?
I call it like the physics way. So physicists would say you use your resources. So use what data is available out there. And sometimes that's classified imagery, and sometimes that's unclassified. So, and then once in a while you can't get picky and you take what you could get. I have been able to look at compartmented data, and then I've been able to look at some of the same imagery that anyone can buy off of the internet. Like some of the unclassified sensors. I don't know if I want to say them because I don't want to feel like that's promoting them, but even NASA. So NASA has civil sensors out there. So I've been able to use those as well. So yeah, the gamut, physics. You use your resources.
There you go. You use your resources and the cat. Somebody put in the chat. The time for disclosure is meow.
That's awesome. I love it.
I thought that was pretty clever. So you actually have had
I should get them back here.
Yeah. So you have had a Q clearance in the Department of Energy.
I have. Yes, I have.
Okay. All right. But we're not going to ask.
That was when I was at ODNI. So at working where I was, you basically had to have it because we work so closely with DOE.
Did you ever meet Avril Haines?
I briefly did, actually. She was phenomenal.
All right. Tell her to next time you see her, tell her to come on the Good Trouble Show. I have a few questions for her. So before we get into the, yeah, I'm sure I'm on her list, her naughty list. I know I'm certainly on the Pentagon and Sue Go's naughty list. That's for sure. So before we dig into the UAP Task Force stuff, you have a really interesting story about how you became interested in the UAP world as an intelligence professional in the course of your work. Let's tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it actually, I've told this story a lot, and I'm very happy. Here he is.
Aw, kitty. Disclosure kitty.
Yeah, I'm always appreciative of this story because it also kind of alludes to my personality, that I'm a persistent person, and I kind of don't give up. So basically I ended up on the task force because I didn't take no for an answer and kept arguing with my deputy director at the time. I was at NGA in the research directorate, and so I have to backtrack though to give a little bit more background. So I graduated with my degree in CWMD. Got to learn about cool stuff, things that go boom, different sites, learned about all kinds of stuff, worked with, got to visit the Marines nuclear incidents response force. I think that's what it was, in Indian Head, and got to put on like a mop suit and crawl through some stuff with like a blackout mask on and a gas mask. Super cool. Anyways, so I'd get done with that, and I see a report that talked about a nuclear missile site and some stuff that happened there. And immediately I jumped on it thinking, oh, I'm interested in what this could have been. Was it a UAP? Was it an adversary? I don't know. I'm on this like CWMD kick. And I also have this astrophysics background. So if it was just all kinds of gamma. I'm even thinking about like gamma ray bursts and solar flares and all kinds of stuff goes through my mind. So I end up finding a chat room, and kind of the rest is history after that. So there weren't many people in this chat room. In the chat room, I know people probably have questions about that. It's a collaboration tool. And when I worked in the Joint Collaboration Cell, the JCC, that's what we use to talk to the warfighter. That's what we use to talk to people around the world. Anybody with access to this system could get to this tool. I
want to interrupt real quick before I forget, because the cat has me distracted here. So you are given to view a report of a UAP over a launch facility, over a nuclear missile site.
It wasn't given to me. I honestly don't remember. It stumbled on me, or maybe I just read it. Maybe somebody sent it to me. I'm sorry, I don't remember how it came about to my eyeballs.
Got it.
But
can you say where it was?
I totally ran.
Can you say where was this, in the U.S. or elsewhere?
Unfortunately, I cannot discuss the location.
Can you discuss what was above the missile site?
I cannot fully discuss. I cannot discuss that either.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you're on this R space site, and in where I cut you off, you were talking about how this is a tool that warfighters use to communicate.
So 24/7 support and great collaboration tool. People from all over the world that has access to this system can get to it, and you could chat. So a few of us, there was less than 20 probably of us that were in this room, very diverse backgrounds and just interested in the topic. At that point, I didn't even know a task force existed. I was just wanting to help and interested in this. And also, I joked that I wanted to help find my older sister because I was the biggest X-Files fan growing up. And that joke ended up becoming kind of more of a serious thing, but I used that over the years. When I needed to like break the ice somewhere. But where was I? Oh, and that led to R Space. So you just mentioned R Space, and so that was kind of like a SharePoint site. Well, not was, it is. It's still out there. But it's, think of like a SharePoint site where you could store data and then have comments and create all kinds of folders and stuff like that. So
and what's the classification level of this R space site?
Well, the classification goes up to the level that the system is on. I honestly don't remember the very specific level because they varied, but you could have one if you have a CAC, common access card. You could get to one through an FOUO channel and on the unclassified system as well. So they are on each system, but they're classified up to a certain level that I'm so sorry, I actually don't remember the specifics.
That's okay. These are all like,
but I know you couldn't put SAP or class or compartmented information on it.
Got it. How many people were in this R space room, would you estimate?
It grew with every news article, with every major news article and report that was put out over the years. It would grow sometimes exponentially overnight. As more people were curious, and we had a lot of people laugh and not take us seriously, but the few of us that had been in there for a long time, we would let them know, like, okay, if you're not serious, go to another room. So at the time when I first joined, I would say there was less than 20 people. And by the time I left, over 2,000.
And where could people post classified videos of UAP in this room?
Absolutely. So whatever the level that the system could go up to, you could put in there.
Okay. So it's I guess in a way, how I think I'm understanding what you're saying. If you are cleared to TS level, you could view TS product that was sitting in the R space room.
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right. Hey, maybe I'll get a job at AARO. Maybe they'll maybe Sean Kirkpatrick will put in a good word. So like you would see open source videos and then you would see classified videos of UAP. How were they good quality?
Yeah, some of them were very good quality. Some of them weren't. And this is of course according to my support. So I do need to say to let people know I supported from an NGA perspective. So I reported on the task force to the NGA lead, and then he would meet with the bigger task force. So I have no idea if all agencies or entities operated that way, if they had separate teams, but at NGA, we had people in all different directorates and different teams with different backgrounds and a diverse group that were supporting. So, I specialized in SAR radar, and I specialized in, I had the astrophysics background. So certain people did certain things. So I didn't see all of the data that maybe another person at NGA saw. But through the chat room, we all worked together, and that's a lot of the task force, not a lot, but some task force members were in this chat room in this collaboration tool as well. and we got to all work together there. So I got to see a lot of blurry, just like you guys are frustrated. Everyone out there is frustrated. We don't have clear data and clear imagery. We're frustrated with that too on our side. So not everything is always a clear picture. I feel like a lot of people assume working on classified data, it's super cool, like what the movies make it out to seem. And we have the same problems that you all do too. It's nothing new to us. We want hard, concrete stuff. We want dual phenomenology. We want to capture something, and we want the same things. Like, we're all on the same team. It's just sometimes we can't talk about what we see, unfortunately.
Can you at least say, were there things that you saw that were clearly not from here? Maybe from our neighbors somewhere else?
Yes, absolutely. There was a few times when no doubt in my mind, that's not terrestrial, that's not from Earth, that's not an adversary craft. The way things maneuvered, G forces experienced, disappear, reappear, pop back up. Sometimes it was, and I know I'm not saying anything new, but it's like it would like play. And, pilots would lose track of something, and it's no doubt in your mind, not from Earth.
And was it the way it moved? Was it the shape? Like, without, again, talking about sources and methods in a layman's way, how could you explain that you were able to come to those conclusions that some of the things you viewed were not from here?
Yeah, that was one of my most fun things I got to help with, was because my science brain is always prevalent no matter what I do in life. And I ask, what could it be? So debunking something was really fun because you got to learn about perhaps a system, or you got to meet people too. So you're reaching out and talking to folks. So the group was split one time. We thought something might have been a camera system failure, or it was a true UAP. And when I say UAP, I don't necessarily mean that we believed it was non-terrestrial aircraft or NHI. It was just we couldn't identify it. So there were definitely times when the group would be split on something, and this would be after months of research and not be able to come to a conclusion. So whenever that happened, we were like, okay, it's a UAP. And then still sometimes there was a debate, and then it would resurface after a while because somebody else would come in months later and be like, did you guys see this? And we're like, don't bring this up again. So that was always fun. But yeah, I was able to see some odd shaped aircraft. There was, I'll call a boomerang at one point. Definitely saw a lot of balloons, and even some balloons later on that we were able to, at one point years ago, we classified it as a UAP. And then a couple years down the road, got some new information from, I think it was a Google balloon or something, and we're able to update our file. So we were able to eventually debunk something. So I loved it. So people with open minds and really wanting to see what's out there.
Just listening to you, what I love about you is that you are following the data. You're not just blanketly saying, "Oh, it's seagulls," or it's the Tic Tac is a balloon that floated up. You're following the data, and you take pride in being able to debunk things, but properly debunking it as a scientist, not because you have some agenda. You're following where the data leads, and I think that in and of itself just so lends to your credibility. Anyway, please continue. But so you saw a boomerang craft. I guess, I have to ask because people will yell at me if you don't, why didn't you ask her for details? Can you tell us any more about that? And if you can't.
I cannot.
You cannot.
I cannot. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Okay, so let's go to UAP Task Force. How did you join the UAP Task Force? Tell us that story.
That was, uh, I'd say a few months after I started being a part of the collaboration tools, and my deputy director was tasked to find some people to support the NGA side of the task force, of the UAP task force. So he went to my coworker that was sitting beside me. He was more senior than me and had a lot on his plate and knew how to do a lot with a little bit of his time. So we asked him to be a part of it and to, I forget if he asked him to lead it, but I know he asked him to be a part of it. And my coworker was like, I don't have time for that X-Files stuff. And I was like, I do. I do. And so I kind of, started getting a little jumpy and wanting to officially be a part of it, because at that point I knew of the task force and I knew of some of the people. I knew who the NGA lead was. I knew all these things. It made sense for me to be a part of it. Put me in, coach.
Right.
And so my deputy director kind of rolled his eyes and was like, I don't think so. And I pretty much stated an argumentative essay right there to him. And he looked at my coworker again, who he had asked, and my coworker's like, she's ready. Or, hire her, which there was no hiring. That was being sarcastic. But so that was how I ended up. He finally obliged, and I didn't take no for an answer. So that was how I officially got on the task force.
Okay, and tell us what you did. What was your position on the task force?
Yeah, I supported it from the NGA side. So I didn't know the broader perspective of who was on the task force. Every once in a while we would have meetings, and I mean, it was, to me, I guess, negligible, because I don't remember how many people would join a meeting, because there were like dial-ins, because it was interagency, it was all from all over the IC, all over the world type thing. So so I just supported from NGA side. So eventually it led to being a part of some foundational talks of experiments to try to prove, disprove, duplicate. Like if we had a video that, I'll say, a boomerang came in, we'll try to see if that might have been, thermal shadowing off of some water or something from a balloon, or we would try to replicate what was happening and then maybe debunk. And then COVID shutdown happened. So that was a big bummer.
And
For many reasons.
Oh, of course. And what interesting things can you say that you came across as part of the UAP task force, analyzing this imagery?
Well, I think I talked about a lot of it already, of some of the cool things they're able to see. I saw a couple of videos that I can't get into the source of them, but they're no doubt not terrestrial based.
And can you say, was this was that the consensus as well within the UAP task force?
Oh yeah, sometimes we wouldn't be able. We would do what we could do, detective work. Look at the camera systems. Look at wind speed, altitude, camera parallax. So annoying. So we would look at all kinds of stuff and send what we found up to whoever was higher up than us, like the lead or whatever, and so he would take that. So we would do our investigation and report it up.
And how much stigma, you were talking earlier about, people calling it X-Files and stuff. How much stigma did you encounter at the time when you were doing work for the UAP task force? Stigma with the UAP topic.
Yeah. So unfortunately, definitely happened. But I mean, I think that would happen now. But back then it was before. Oh, yeah, it was definitely before the initial reports, like the ODNI reports that were put out. Anytime that happened, I usually would know the person that I was talking to, because I did know a lot of people at NGA and from my other jobs, because I would have to work with certain people to task the imagery, to get the imagery. So When I would talk with them, they're like, "You're kidding, right?" And I'm like, "Actually, no, we need to find an older sister." And so I kind of break the ice, making jokes, and then be like, "No, I'm dead serious." Um, so sometimes we had some good leverage from support of like the experiment that we were going to do. We had a lot of backing, so that it started kind of dying down slowly and slowly. Like the more reports that came in from pilots, the more reports that came in, even I'm talking, our fighter jet pilots and then also commercial airline pilots. Like the more that came in, the more this like stigma started chipping away. You're starting to chip that ice away a little bit at a time. And it was pretty amazing to see, and more people were joining the collaboration spaces and wanting to genuinely help and not make fun. And more diverse backgrounds started coming in. It was really amazing being on the task force where everyone that wanted to help was welcome. It was like open arms, and if you wanted to come to this meeting, that's cool. Or if you want to report to your lead to see if you could join. It was a really neat space, and like we would joke with each other about it, about like the X-Files stuff, but we were all there for a reason, which basically the foundation of it was curiosity and national security.
And we're and just backing up a bit. I know you were talking earlier about there was blurry stuff, but just to make sure I heard you right, there you were able to view high resolution imagery of UAP that was clearly not of human origin.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And I know you can't talk too much about that. And backing up a bit, back to the nuclear missile incident. Can you say, was this a recent thing in terms of the date, or was like within?
No, I can say that when I read the report, it wasn't that date. So it was prior to that.
Okay. Okay. But you can't elaborate anymore.
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Understood.
Sorry to everybody.
No, it's, look, this is the way this stuff works. We don't want you getting into trouble.
No jail. My cats need their mother.
So do you think that there are going to be other UAP task force members that are going to see this and decide to go public as well?
I really hope so. I hope more and more people want to come out. Like, I know I haven't said anything absolutely cool, groundbreaking. I'm not sharing a glass of wine with an NHI, which would be super cool.
But your cat.
But I really hope that it does. And you don't have to have groundbreaking, incredible information. What we need right now is more people to come out and to validate and to say that there's stuff here that is being buried for some reason that I really don't know why. But I was appreciative of a lot of the support that I've had already as well. I don't know, now is the time to thank people, but I've had, after the doxing happened, I had a lot of strangers reach out to me, and that was, I don't know if you could feel the smile through the message as I read it, and I hope I responded to everybody, but thank you. I do hope this is going to help more people come forward, whether you have a story to share of having a glass of wine with an NHI or been able to see anything on an image.
And if I may ask, what is your rank?
My rank,
Like your GS-15 or like?
I'm a contractor right now. We don't really have ranks. When I left the government, I would have been considered a GS-13. So the NGA pay system is a little bit different. It's not a GS scale, but I would have been considered a 13.
Got it. Okay. So you're in the UAP task force. COVID happens. And so, of course, that throws a monkey wrench into everything. What I'm curious about is when AARO stood up, did that have an effect on the UAP task force?
Yeah, that was, it was sad. I don't know where to start because it was just really sad. So when people started coming back to the office after the shutdown, I started reaching out, seeing if I needed to carry on with the experiment that I was going to be a part of and potential. I don't know if they wanted me to lead it. Might have. I was really excited about it. But I started reaching out to people again and kept on getting crickets. And then after a little bit longer, I kept trying to reach out every once in a while, thinking somebody's just not back in the office yet. And then eventually, sorry, I have like all this cat hair all over me now. So that's fun. Um, so then I just kind of gave up, and I also got my position at ODNI. So that I moved on basically, but I was still supporting from the collaboration tool. So I was still very present and a part of things from that aspect and that perspective, and was still able to see a few videos that might have, been posted type thing and in that collaboration space. But it was crickets. It was there was silence back, and I just thought it was very odd. And so I just kind of thought, oh, well, maybe that's just not a thing anymore. Maybe the interest is gone. And so I just made all kinds of excuses and eventually kind of forgot about it. And then AARO came along. So when that came up, I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. I wonder if, the task force people are getting pulled in and we're going to pick up. And so I started trying to figure out who was on it. And it was just no matter what route you went down, you hit a solid brick wall. It was just, yeah, I keep using the word sad because that's how it felt. I was so sad to be so excited about something, and a lot of work was put into a lot of things for a few years, and all of a sudden it was gone. So for a few years, I supported from the collaboration space, but it wasn't really supporting AARO. It was still supporting how we used to with the task force. But I will say, by the time it was time for me to move on, I did work with a person from AARO, and it was somebody that was how like I was supporting the task force from NGA. That's a similar situation that this person was in. So he was supporting it from a different place. And he actually vouched for some of the stuff that we were doing in the collaboration space and was able to get some stuff carried forward. So they were able to utilize it. But yeah, we would try to share our data and stuff with them. We'd finally get in touch with somebody and they'd say, no, we have our own database. And it was very unfortunate.
So you're saying, so you guys would go to AARO and say, hey, we've got this mountain of evidence or this mountain of data because we've been spending millions of dollars collecting all this stuff, and AARO tells you to take a hike.
Yeah, that's a easy, simple way to put it.
Not unbelievable. That's, AARO is one giant flypaper operation. AARO cannot be trusted, period, the end. Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick or whoever's running it, this doesn't surprise me. But so, would this be from repeated attempts of trying to provide AARO information that they would just tell you no? Or was this like a one-time thing?
No, I know a few of us tried a few times, and I know when I really started trying to, I guess, poke the bear to be like, do you want this data? We've worked hard on this. And so when I really poked, it was like, no, we got our own database. So, I don't know how many times others might have poked or attempted. I know people higher up than me that were at a different agency tried hard as well, but I'm not going to speak for other people.
You can't say what agency that was?
No, because I hope they'll come forward.
Okay, good. I certainly hope so too. I mean, that's, that is just, it's not surprising. We had a former deputy, Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, Christopher Mellon, who essentially said exactly what you said, that time and again, AARO refused good data because, really AARO's mission was to make this whole thing go away. Undersecretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks, who is not doing any favors for our deputy, Undersecretary of Defense, I think. Is that her title? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, they stood up AARO to basically try and shut down Gillibrand was the real reason they did it, which is sad. But you do think that it is possible that other UAP task force members would come forward?
I'm an optimistic person, so some people see that as naive, but I really hope people do, even if it's, like I said, not a whiz bang thing that they have to say, but more people to come out and validate and say that there's stuff that's hidden for what I think some of it is for no reason. Like what I'm telling you right now, I don't understand why more people haven't said.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. So we're going to do a little mid station break here, and then we have a bunch of audio questions. I'm sorry, not audio. My brain is fried today. A bunch of audience questions, not audio questions. Audience questions that we are going to throw your way. I understand that there's a lot due to your security clearance that you can't talk about. But we do have a special show to announce. We do have Dr. Gary Nolan, who will be coming on soon. We are working to find the right date to put him on because we're trying to time it in support of the UAP Disclosure Act. But this Sunday, watch on Twitter, or excuse me, X, because this is where we will announce the time. We have Lou Elizondo live. This will not be a taped interview. Lou Elizondo will be appearing live on the Good Trouble Show. We do not have the time set, but it will be this Sunday. We will be taking a handful of audience questions. Now, we only, unfortunately, have Lou for an hour. So we want to make the best of that hour. But everyone, again, watch on our X account at Good Trouble Show. And as soon as we have the time locked down, we will let you know. And and before we get to the questions, I understand you're going to be in James Fox's new documentary. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, super exciting. I don't know. At one point I felt terrified, but I think that was because I have always hidden behind a classified wall. Obviously now I'm not, but I'm excited. It's really cool time to be a part of this phenomenon, and James Fox is phenomenal at what he does, and so what better way to also come out is under him. He also comes with a lot of support and a lot of people surrounding him, so that's kind of absorbed through the people that are in his films as well. But yeah, his film's coming out, super exciting, hopefully soon.
Fantastic. And when you say you're kind of out from the shadows in a sense, I just want to make sure I understand this. If you work for SAIC as a analyst, but if you were working directly for the Pentagon, the intelligence community, ODNI or NGA, and you were employed there, you would not be able to come on this show, correct?
I wouldn't be comfortable with that if I was a government employee still. Lou, I don't know if I just assume everybody's read his book because it's awesome and it's the #1 bestseller. But he does mention having to step down from being a government employee to help with the disclosure and with this topic. So it's kind of along those same lines. There's different things that different oaths. You take an oath of the government. Military takes an oath when you go into whatever branch it is, and so I would not be comfortable coming forward if I was still a government employee.
Understood. And may I ask you, have you ever experienced UAP yourself personally?
I did. I saw one, Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina. I was there with some members of my family, and I actually did see something there. And another person, there was a handful of other people there, and including some strangers. And this guy and I both saw this object, and it disappeared, reappeared a little bit higher than where it was, and we at one point in the night we thought we were seeing aircraft, which we were. There was definitely a landing strip not too far away, but what this was unexplainable. I've also had some encounters as well. It's more spiritual based, so don't want that to be a focus of this. Um, my dad's actually seen one, so he saw something 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So that was really exciting for him to see that and to tell me. So I haven't seen a lot myself, but what I have seen, super cool. Even last night, I got home from a wine tasting last night and looked up and I saw the space station, but I knew it was the space station, but that science brain, you've got to make sure. So I got my app out and confirmed that it was the space station. But so I waved at everybody that's still up there and, the two people that are stranded up there right now, and it passed over. So
there you go. Awesome. So you do have experience with this. Okay, so let's get to some audience questions here, if you don't mind. First of all, Stephen Bernard, thanks for doing what you're doing. Message to you there. So thank you for that and for the super chat. Michael S. asks, did you ever see the Nimitz video?
I did, of course, yes.
Did you see the classified version of the Nimitz video?
Yes.
Okay. Can you say any more than that?
I'm not comfortable doing that because I'm not sure what's still classified and what's not.
But let me ask you this. Is there more Nimitz video than what is publicly out there?
I'm actually trying to remember right now. So that's why I'm pausing and I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But you did see stuff that was not part of what the public is seeing.
Yeah, that was definitely talked about a lot.
Okay, got it. All right. Scott Powers, were there more reports of large USO objects like the 737 sized object underwater reported by Fravor below the Tic Tac?
So I do know of them. I personally I'm chuckling because they ended up being a nothing burger, because usually things would be just with the image angle, birds migrating or fishing boats that were just set up in a very particular way. So everything like that, that related to water, ended up being something that was debunked. And for a little bit at one point, we were really excited, thinking it could have been, underwater or something. And it just ended up not. But yeah, you got to follow the data. Whether you're excited and you get let down, you got to accept it.
There you go. Terrence Willis, what is the most compelling thing you can discuss, and what are your hopes for the rest of 2024?
Oh my gosh. I hope I'm really not. My family's going to make fun of this for me because I know a couple of them are watching. Um, I So this does sound funny, but it looked really crazy. There was something that we kind of ended up, not kind of, that's the wrong word. We ended up calling it a flying brain. It wasn't balloons. It looked absolutely bonkers. But that was what we called it because that was what it looked like. Sometimes those things did end up looking like packs of balloons from a kid's birthday party, but in this case, it wasn't. It was really bizarre, and I'm so sorry. This sounds so silly, but it really did.
Hey, whatever, what you saw is what you saw. Okay, Gray Owl, did any of your experiences lead you to question the nature of reality?
I don't think so, because of my spiritual route, and also when I was going to undergrad in physics, I 100% believe we weren't the only ones out there. I way before going down the spiritual path, decades before, not decades, that was just singular. I wanted to correct myself, but I believed in undergrad when I was 19 years old that we weren't alone. So I think I've always had an open mindset, because like when people would ask me about it, especially when I was in school, Are we alone? And I would say, why are we selfish enough to think that there's infinite amount of space and we're the only ones? Like infinite,
Yeah.
and alone? That just blew my mind that some people would think that.
And,
So I
and,
don't think that changed my perspective, or I was blown away by seeing something like this, like
and,
what I have.
and backing up, did you say it looked like a flying broom or balloon?
Brain.
Oh, brain. Okay. And was this thing like stationary? Did it move like it did? Did it have any of the five observables?
Yeah, it moved, turned, would, like do sudden stops, and we were able to track it for quite a while. It was I I'm happy I got to say flying brain today. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, fly. Yeah, there you go. Maybe it was Sean Kirkpatrick's brain flying around. In regards to the origin of UFOs, did your work experience? Oh wait, no, I already asked that. Let's see, Scott Powers. What are a couple of books to check out in regards to anomalous phenomena, etc.?
Ooh, books. I honestly, I haven't. I think some of my friends, I can't defer to them because they're not on here, but um, anomalous phenomena, I did end up really liking a couple of George Knapp books that he's written. There's one about the skinwalkers at Pentagon,
That's
just from a
amazing.
scientific perspective. I've enjoyed some of his books, and of course, I've already mentioned, and we've already mentioned it, Luis Elizondo's book Imminent. That gives a really good history. So a lot of people have to read different books in order to get the history that is just in Lou's book. So he covers the gamut on a handful of major events. Some of them, haven't been talked about, and that's like the Phoenix Lights. Thousands of people saw something over Phoenix that's called the Phoenix Lights, and I would say George Knapp's books. I've probably ended up enjoying the most, but I haven't read a ton. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's my problem. And I also, while I'm remembering, I want to thank we have quite a number of our chat moderators here volunteering their time. We figured some of these antibodies that decided to dox you would come in and try and cause trouble. So I really appreciate our chat moderators. They volunteer their time. They do this because they believe in what we're doing. They believe in the truth, and I just want to thank them. And also as well, I want to really thank everybody that has been making super chat donations. All of that stuff helps us put shows like this on the air. Hopefully one day we'll have Coca-Cola or somebody sponsoring us. But until then, it's just me doing this here in the studio. This is a really good question from Michael S. Why does she think they still can't show us these images and videos she is referring to?
Yeah, that is a good question. So some of it is classified because of the quality. So the system itself. What's another one? Location. So the location that wherever the image or the video is in, supporting, like if we're supporting the warfighter and we accidentally get this, we can't let the adversary know what we're looking at.
Sure.
So I hope that makes sense. But there's definitely many layers. And so, for instance, our adversaries, if we release some of this data, they might know we're looking at them if that's where the image is. And so it is unfortunate. I think some of the data, and of course, this is just me and my opinion, and I am not high on any food chain in the government, but I do believe there's no reason to not declassify some additional images and footage that we've had. Once in a while, a lot of this stuff is just, what do you say, like a fortuitous situation,
Right.
where you're wanting to image the Eiffel Tower. I'm making this up, but if you're imaging, I'm just going to pick the Eiffel Tower because I was thinking about the Olympics for some reason just now. So if you're imaging the Eiffel Tower and something zips by and you get it, you don't want to maybe disclose that you were looking at the Eiffel Tower. Again, that's a made up scenario. Oh, there he goes. The cat's finally gone. Yeah, so I hope that helps. I do wish that more can be released, and I don't see why some can't. There, like the Nemitz video was declassified, and some things of that similar quality, I don't see why couldn't, especially if the video is looking at a horizon or something. But that's not of my power. I am very low in the food chain.
Well, I tell you what, if they do ask, I would implore you to ask them to declassify Sean Kirkpatrick's brain video, although I hear the brain is pretty small. Nilsson F., can you ask if Sarah had access to spatial data on UAPs? She is representing the side that misses from the data provenance, space-based imagery. Also, did she have radar data of UAP?
I don't think I understand the first part of the question. And radar data, I did not have it, but I know of many pilots that have talked about it, and this is totally unclassified. That's not from a classified space. But what can you repeat the first part of the question? Spatial?
Sure. Can you ask Sarah if Sarah had access to spatial data of UAP? I'm guessing he means space-based sensor data.
Space-based?
I think like space-based ISR platforms.
Yes. So that's a lot of what I was able to see. I think if I'm hoping we're interpreting this correctly. So yeah, a lot of the data that I've seen was from ISR, but some of it was also from YouTube. So it's the same thing that you guys could see, but I was able to use, my background at the time, when we were all collaborating together early on. There was no other astrophysicist in the group, and so we got sent a video from YouTube, and I immediately was saying, that's a bolide. People were like, what's a bolide? That sounds like a UAP aircraft to me. And so I explained it was a fireball. It was just a really bright meteor, and possibly meteorite if it entered. And so it was, we used all of the systems, but yes, we did use ISR. I never did see any radar from like a ship or anything like that, but that was just because of where I worked and where I was supporting it from. So I'm sure maybe, the Navy still has some of that stuff, but I do know one of my friends worked for the Navy, or he didn't work. He was a part of the Navy. He was military and sacrificed for his country. But yeah, he's told me, we were having beers. He's a friend I've had my entire life. He's like a brother, and was telling me stories about when he was in the Philippines, seeing orange balls, and I think green ones, and would also see them on the radar, and they would send aircraft out to investigate and always come back empty-handed.
Wow. Amazing. Christian Morales, thank you again for the super chat. Everybody's been donating quite a bit. Really appreciate that. Old English, what sizes of UAPs have you seen? Football field size, sphere and cube? However you can answer that. I
unfortunately can't get into measurements.
You can't get into measurements. Okay. Yeah. Except for Kirkpatrick's brain, which we know was small.
Yeah. Unfortunately, been trading, it adds a level. So like sometimes when you talk about one thing and you talk about another thing, both things might be unclassified, but when they're together, that's a no-no. So unfortunately, I can't talk about
Got it.
that.
What's your opinion of the circular reporting issue? What's your opinion of the circular reporting issue AARO reported? Is it complete BS, or might it be true? I think it was this bullshit that Sean Kirkpatrick, one of his many lies, basically said that this whole UAP thing is due to a bunch of circular reporting. What are your thoughts on that? Your personal thoughts, I would say.
Circular reporting, I just want specifically what that means before I respond. So circular reporting as in, this is a nothing burger, this is wind, this is parallax, and that's the circle, that's the cycle.
Well, it's essentially what Sean Kirkpatrick, as part of his paid disinformation campaign, what his bosses up the chain were telling him to say, was essentially that the reason we are looking into this UAP thing, the reason that Congress is is because Chris Mellon told this guy, and then this guy told this guy, and this guy told a staffer, and that it's that there's nothing to it. Kirkpatrick has been trying to spin this disinformation because that was his job. That all of this is a big nothing burger.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, that goes back to me being sad. Like we work so hard in so many ways with a lot of people and put a lot of effort into investigating. And so when I would hear of what was being said of, yeah, it's just really sad. And I have seen Dr. Kirkpatrick talk in person, and I know some of the things that he said were not accurate. I might have made audible chuckles. I'm not a quiet person, so I might have made audible chuckles in the audience at that point. But I don't know why. I don't think I'll ever know why that this ended up being how AARO was led. If he was being manipulated, or I have no clue. I've heard all kinds of theories on what was being done, but I just know the facts that there were brick walls and no one got in, no one got out type thing.
Yeah, that was by design. Science Bob, huge fan of Science Bob. I love Bob McGuire. Thank you, Matt and Sarah. Thank you for the super chat. Timmy Kaminsky, thank you for the super chat. Do you know what happened to your data? Was it deleted? And if so, did AARO or anyone force you to shut down any of your chat rooms?
I'm not able to address all of that, but AARO did not force anything. So.
Okay. Yes or no, maybe. Hello. Thanks for putting yourself out there, Sarah. Do you know if there have been efforts to go over old satellite data to corroborate cases? Is there any knowledge where the craft seemed to originate from?
So sometimes what we did was we did go back and look. We would go through prior data that we might have, old reports, even if something might have, there were different key terms, not key terms. They were just like a Google search. So you would try to search with different phrases or different words and dig up maybe something that was in the past, or talk to somebody that was a part of a sighting or whatever. So I didn't do a ton of investigating because of, again, supporting from NGA, looking at imagery, but I do know that the people on the task force did do due diligence and was trying to, we did science. So the more data, the better. So,
Uncle DeMar, has Sarah ever met or heard of the new AARO director? What would be her opinion of the old director? I know what my opinion is.
I don't know who the new one is. Is that, did I miss something? I don't watch the news all.
Yeah, no, there's a new guy. There is a new guy. I don't have his name off the top of my head. Okay.
I know who the acting director was, and I don't have an opinion. I've never encountered him. I'm trying to think of proper words to discuss Dr. Kirkpatrick. I think sad. I was very hopeful whenever I found out he was going to be a director, especially another physicist. I was like, physics rules. We're taking over the world. And quickly that balloon was popped once, I kept hitting that brick wall when I would reach out to people. I'm going to pick a high road and leave it at that.
Yeah. The new director's name is Dr. John T. Koloski. Does that ring a bell?
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
It does not ring a bell.
Okay. Question from Jeff. In her opinion, could any of the high quality UAP videos be publicly released with audio stripped, black bar, oversensitive readouts and whatnot, down-resed, maybe to an unclassed level?
I do think some of what I've seen cannot, because of what I mentioned earlier of location. I would never ever put national security or a warfighter or military, civilian, anybody at risk. So some of them I wouldn't want them declassified. So I am sorry to say that, because I am about sharing data. I mean, I'm here for a reason to share, and just sometimes because it might put somebody in harm's way, I don't think that's going to be safe to do.
Yeah, and I think the people that sit and complain, oh, it's another person saying classified. They don't understand how the real world works. They literally have no clue. Terrence Willis is probably the most. This is going to be the most pressing / personal question that may get into classified territory, but I think it's important that somebody ask this. And if you can't answer it, I understand. We don't want you going to jail, but this is a question about ownership of something. Where did you get that cool picture of the cat behind you?
Amazon. It's actually a puzzle.
It's a puzzle?
It's a puzzle, and all you have to do is search. I think I just looked for UFO puzzle on Amazon and maybe add cat in there, and I guarantee it's going to be the first thing that comes up.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great.
Glued together, and it makes me laugh every time I look at it. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, I get it. Tim Williams, thank you for the super chat. Were any high-res videos that you would classify as NHI? I think you said yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. TransVR says, ask about Sentient. Is that some platform?
If it's what I think he's talking about, I cannot talk about it.
Okay.
If it's for, well, I guess that's definitely congressional money, but it's yeah, I can't.
No, don't.
I won't. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Nope, that's nothing to apologize about. Mew, has Sarah seen videos or photos of biologics?
I have not. I would love to.
Okay. Did Jay Cobellins asks, did she see the complete Iraq floating jellyfish UAP video?
Yes.
You did see that?
Yes.
Okay. If you had to guess, this is from Hassam Raouf, if you had to guess, are we created by NHI?
I think that's putting spiritual hat on. That's a yes and a no. That's not going to be a straightforward answer. I know of theories that we are, and I've heard theories that were experiments. I think we're a blend of all the above. I mean, we're made of stars. We are made from a star that exploded millions of years ago, in order for our skin or our skin suit to be protecting us. And so I do. I've never really thought about this. So
Understood.
You're getting this response really raw.
Yeah.
I think we're a blend of everything. Maybe some people really have been an experiment, and I'm not saying abductees are lying, because I don't doubt it. I know that they have been abducted. So maybe some people are a little bit more of a blend one way or the other than others. But yeah, we're all made of stars, so we all have to be a little bit of an NHI.
Yeah. Kiwi, approximately how many UAP images, videos did she see during her time in the task force, and how far up the chain did those reports go?
I have never thought of that. I don't know. So even sometimes there would be a lull, like just like any job, you're busy, and you have a ton to do, and then you might not have something for an extended period of time. Extended period meaning maybe a couple of days or maybe even a week would go by. So there were roller coasters. It was up and down. Yeah, I don't know that answer of how many videos. I don't even know a ballpark, because I've never thought about that. So that's a good question. Hundreds?
Okay.
But of course, not all are UAPs, right? So of the 100, so like let's round it out to 100. So of that 100, I would say I don't even, and again, this is from a narrow perspective, so I didn't see all of them. So everybody has to keep remembering that. So I'm not speaking for all of the task force, for all of the people who might come forward. They might have seen more, they might have seen less. Um, I would say, let's say it's 100, 8%, less than 10%. Less than 10 would have been deemed a UAP, whether it be just maybe it was an adversary technology, but we still didn't know what it was. So that was classified as a UAP. So back to my words earlier, just because it's a UAP does not mean that it is NHI.
Did when you viewed the jellyfish, in your personal opinion, would you say that it was NHI?
When I first viewed it, definitely did. It looked cray cray. But then you do research, right? You gather data, you start researching jellyfish, you start researching, birds migrating. I never knew I would learn about the migration of certain birds in my life, but I sure have. So you start researching a handful of stuff, and then that leads into more things that'll come up of like whales migrating. I'm making this up, but you end up going down rabbit holes and get to learn about all kinds of stuff. So at first, yeah, it did look pretty nuts.
What you viewed of the Tic Tac, would you conclude that it was NHI?
Yeah, I think it looked pretty crazy. Especially the maneuvering, the yeah, a lot of the speed and the angles and the eyewitness accounts. I mean, how do you deny also multiple eyewitnesses on that as well?
One of the things professional debunker McWest has said is that these videos, I think it's it's one of them. He keeps saying is jet exhaust flare or something like that. Does that track?
I mean, I think there are some like that. Didn't somebody purposely put out some flares one time and then they did like this whole stage thing? I forget. This was a few years ago.
I think there was Go
So I think that
Fast.
is I forget, but we would debunk all of this. I mean, we didn't jump to a conclusion that everything that came across our eyes was a UAP. We would do heavy investigating. We would reach out to people that was on shift that day, or that we would really do due diligence of trying to first debunk and then keep trying to debunk and look from all different angles. um, uh, yeah, learning. Even I mentioned earlier about something was classified as a UAP in one year, and fast forward a few years, saw the same thing, but we found out it was a balloon, so went back and updated the files. Um, so yeah, so I think as science goes, we're always evolving, and humans are always learning. And I don't know if you heard that. That was Krypton. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Krypton's
But
jealous.
we're always learning, which is really cool, and it's science. So as science develops, our sensors get more sensitive, or we have new technology to utilize. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get better quality videos and photos soon.
And just rewinding a bit regarding the jellyfish UAP, in your opinion, it was birds migrating, or you were just making an analogy?
It ended up being debunked. It was not. It was aqua. I don't know words. Aquarius life. It wasn't anything. It was not a UAP.
Got it.
Sorry.
No, it's this.
Words are getting hard. It's getting late.
No, yeah, and we'll run to the top of the hour and then we'll let you go. We know it's been a long interview.
Okay. I'm enjoying answering some questions. I just hope people understand that. Yeah, I can't always answer. So.
Yeah, but you're being truthful, and stuff that is not what we hope it might be. That's you follow the data. This is a good question from Jeff. Did Sarah ever experience any internal resistance to the UAPTF efforts from higher ups within the DoD or the IC, or did you ever witness any retaliations taken against colleagues?
When I was a part of the task force, no, I really didn't. When people make fun of me, I don't care. I grew up in a small town and I got made fun of a lot growing up, and I got thick skin, so make fun of me all you want. I'm fine. I'm older sister. So that was kind of my perspective of it. I would make kind of a joke. I don't I'm trying to think. I don't think I recall others having issues, but I also didn't talk to everybody about it just because we were all on the same page. And hindsight, that would have been a good question to ask because that is a really good question. I really, yeah, would have been a good question to ask 5 years ago.
Sure. Are you scared at all, Hasim? Are you scared at all by retaliation from the intelligence community?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a whistleblower, so that's been something that I've been very adamant on stating anytime I've talked about this anywhere. I am not a whistleblower. I'm not disclosing anything crazy, which you guys have now heard. I am validating. I am stating what I can, but I'm not a whistleblower. The people that have whistleblowed are also so brave. I can't imagine the stress and some of the retaliation that they may or may not have faced. I'm not scared for the intelligence community because they've known, like my job knows, one of the first things I said when I started my current job in the Pentagon was, I'm going to be in a film and it's on UAPs. And most people are like, cool, when's it come out? Can I watch it? So no one cares. And then when they find out about my spiritual abilities, it is negligible in conversations.
Got it. Zanny, thank you so much for the super chat. A question, what made you so sure looking at images that these things are not of human origin? By the way, great job, Matt. Keep on rocking. Thank you.
Yes, good job, Matt. What made me so sure was maneuverability, direction, G-force, things that a human would not be able to withstand. Sometimes the shapes, sometimes I know this isn't, again, anything new, but shapes change. And it's mostly the physics, the kind of like the five observables, but the physics. So my physics brain's thinking that G-force, no one could tolerate that. Our bodies would our bodies would not exist well anymore. And yeah, just sometimes it was you just knew. I'm trying to think of anything else I could disclose. I guess after doing detective work as well and coming up to dead ends all the time of trying to debunk something after you have gone down parallax, you have gone down camera systems, you've gone down all kinds of stuff to try to say it isn't, and it isn't, and then you're like, okay, well, now we've reached a conclusion. There was a question I actually didn't answer it earlier. I just realized somebody asked if the reports, no fighting. If the report, sorry, there's going to be a war that breaks out right beside
No
us.
cat fights going on while we're talking UAP.
So, but the reports, so the stuff that I sent up, I truly don't know where that went. I just, kind of like factory workers and oh my gosh, making buttons and stuff, and you're a button maker, you don't know where the buttons are going to be attached to, or what system they're going to be on. You just make the buttons and you have red buttons and you push the red buttons down the line. So I guess that's kind of how what I was a button maker.
Hey, what up? Hey, love it. What do you think about oceans? This is from Apricati. What do you think about the oceans as a base for UAPs?
Oh, why not? There's so much water out there.
Yeah.
What better way to hide? And then also, depending on what physics you look at, theoretical physics, Water can also be a generator. Well, I mean, we know water is a generator because we have dams and all of that. But yeah, absolutely. That'd be smart. You could hide anywhere on the planet almost.
Mike Wheeler, please ask Sarah, does the Australian government share UAP info with USA, especially due to Pine Gap being so secretive and no one knows what's going on out there?
That's a good question, and I don't know that answer. Um, I know the UK has a really good database and really good system. I think they were doing some sort of report or something they were going to put out maybe earlier this year. I lost track of that. I don't know about Australia. I at least never worked with them. That's a good question.
You're saying that the United Kingdom has a good database of UAPs.
Mhm. Yeah, I forget the name of it. It's you could Google it. But there's, and I think Canada too. So Canada's been tracking UAPs for a long time as well, including their military. Darn, I don't remember the name of them. And of course, now that I'm really trying to think about it, I'm going to start mumbling and fumbling words.
That's
But
okay.
UK's been documenting UAPs for a very long time, back when they were called UFOs.
Eve Clancy, has anything she's learned about UAP indicate that there's a dark aspect to NHI, as suggested by folks like Lou Elizondo?
Yeah, absolutely. So not everything's friendly out there. I don't know which hat you want me to put on, the science hat or the spiritual hat. But there, for both of those hats, yes, there's definitely malevolent things out there and entities, and then some that also don't comprehend emotions, and so they don't understand that they're malevolent because they're just like, I don't know, robots, drones. Um, but there's yes.
Got it. Okay. Excuse me. Is the brain video similar to the jellyfish UFO with a purple light orange inside?
I cannot, I cannot talk about that. But,
Okay.
no, they're not similar.
Understood. Mark Tigson, what does she think the best open source video is out there that would be UAP that is available for public view?
Um, I don't know. I haven't been super invested in this. Wasn't there like just something seen over the pyramids yesterday, recently? I honestly I haven't seen anything but a still that and the still photo look crazy. Unfortunately, AI is starting to get really good and people like clicks, so they're going to keep pumping out those AI videos, and that's just really frustrating. But it's, the world's all about money. So, um, gosh, I'm so sorry. I should know this answer, but I've been a part of from the task force and that looking at data for a little bit now.
Got it. I mean, I've never had this many questions on a show ever.
No, I'm still trying to think too of a video. I'll still keep thinking about that.
Okay, great. Yep. Actually, I think, can you ask Sarah? This is from Nilsson and says, please thank Sarah. Did space-based sensors track UAP, and was she working on this? And in that case, did we track them going out to the solar system?
I don't know if we can actually track something going out to the solar system just because our tools are limited. Like, James Webb's already looking deep space, so that would be super cool. NASA, new goal.
Gucci, do you foresee?
I don't know.
Okay, understood. Do you foresee official acknowledgement from the government in the next 10 years?
I hope so. I believe this is Sarah's opinion. This isn't from anything official or, so this is just coming from me. I think I think we are going to push past what the government can, and the government's going to have to keep up and then be like, oh yeah, this exists. So I think we're going to end up surpassing and disclosing, or maybe even one day it'd be super cool if there was an open contact. That's my positivity coming through, but I do truly believe that we as in the public will surpass what the government is doing, and the government's going to have to backpedal and be like, oh yeah, here's this.
I keep at the top of the show. That's exactly what I told the folks in the government that I know watch this thing. You guys have something coming if you don't do the right thing. It's better to just be truthful. It really is. Mm-hmm. I think actually we've gotten to pretty much all of them. These have really been great questions. Zane, this is a good one. Zane Michael, has she seen the additional 4 minutes of the gimbal video?
I might have.
Okay, might have. All right, I completely, yeah. There are things that you just can't talk about, and yeah. We respect that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. What would be your, we spoke about the UAP Disclosure Act that Congress will hopefully be considering, the Senate, for the Senate version of the NDAA. What would your message be to everyone at home? And then also, what would your message be to the members of Congress and their staffers that watch this show?
My message is, one, stay open. Don't immediately assume when we deem something as a UAP that's what we jump to. We do look at science. We do look at all of the data from all aspects. So just know when something is considered a UAP, it was looked at very thoroughly. I want more people to come out. That's why I'm here. This is so important. This is such an amazing time to be alive. We're seeing advanced physics now. We're on the brink of so many things in quantum physics, and we're not alone, and it shouldn't be a secret that we're not alone. I think it's important for others to come out, and I've said it a few times, no matter what it is, just say it. You don't have to have something elaborate. I didn't touch any NHIs. I didn't, visit Tatooine. I didn't hold a lightsaber. But I have important things to say that hopefully somebody else will get some courage to come forward as well.
I certainly hope so. And anybody from UAP Task Force, especially Jay Stratton, I would love to have Jay Stratton on this show. Is certainly welcome here at any time. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, for your service to this country, and secondly for speaking the truth. It's clear you're not embellishing. You are strictly talking about what your experience was, what you saw, what you didn't, what you were able to actually debunk. Not because you had a paid agenda like some of these paid debunkers do, but you were doing it because you were following the science and you had an open mind. And we need more people like that, and just the class and dignity, the classiness that you carry yourself, and have handled this disgusting thing by Stephen Greenstreet. My hat is really off to you, and people are going to remember you for your truthfulness, your classiness, and the grace in which you hold yourself. And my hat is off to you. And I know that we are certainly going to see bigger and better things from you as you move on through life, and hopefully you'll be given the opportunity to make a positive impact in the government with this topic. We need more people like you, less people like Sean Kirkpatrick and others. So I really am grateful for what you have done, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for providing space for not just me, but for others that have talked, for Lou coming on. Everybody that has come forward trusts you, so you are providing trust yourself. And so I wanted to thank you for that. But I did thank people earlier, so thank you so much for the kind words. Even if you sent a message to somebody to send to me, I got them and I appreciated them. I put them right in my heart and I carried them with me, and that helped give me the confidence to get through yesterday. So thank you so so much. I love love, and I felt it. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and looking forward to having you. Well, actually, looking forward to seeing you on James Fox's new film. Hopefully, we'll have James on the show to talk about it when that movie launches. He does incredible work, and and certainly we're looking forward to hearing what Jay Stratton has to say. We have, of course, we've got the UAP hearing coming up that I understand Nancy Mace will be chairing. And if we're lucky, this UAP Disclosure Act will pass. But as I have said to everyone, pick up the phone tomorrow morning, call. The more people that call, trust me, they pay attention to this stuff. So, there you go. And please, thank your cats, for not, causing too much of a ruckus there. And maybe send us the Amazon link to that badass cat UFO puzzle. I think I'm going to get it and maybe put it on my nice set here.
Mm-hmm. I will.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome, Sarah Gam, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, this was awesome. So happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right. Very good. So. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that. Firstly, if you enjoyed that, we of course would appreciate a thumbs up, a subscribe, a share, all that kind of stuff. All of those little things when people say, "Oh, smash the like button," all of that. Those are very important signals to YouTube. They look at those signals as a way to decide whether they're going to promote your content to somebody else that may be not tracking this particular topic. So more people that subscribe, like all that stuff, it helps the whole effort out. And I would encourage you to please do the same thing when you watch other people that are creating really great content on the UAP thing. We're a big fan of Vinnie Adams and other folks that have really great UFO shows. And when you watch these things, take the time. I mean, I even do it on shows or YouTube videos that I don't even, I'm not even subscribed to, but I know that creator put a lot of effort into making that video. And I know firsthand how the thumbs up and the leaving the comments. YouTube looks at how many comments are left on a video. It shows engagement. It's a signal that tells them that the public likes your content. And so all of those things really do help. And again, I really do appreciate the super chats. We don't have a show sponsor. I'm literally a one-man operation. With the exception of the kind folks that donate their time in the chat room. We hope to have somebody that's going to be onboarded soon to kind of help things out. But anyway, yeah, no, we really appreciate it. But I would just say again, do your part. Everybody can make their voice heard. I can tell you with multiple conversations with Senate and House staffers that they do hear the comments. It gets floated up to the boss when 100 calls come in to Senator Gillibrand's office that says, pass this UAP Disclosure Act. She hears about it. They do hear this stuff. And the other thing I would say too, I know even for myself, I get frustrated with the pace at which things go. Sometimes I feel like they're going way too slow. And it's easy to kind of take our frustrations out on the people that are front and center of this in Congress. So, it's easy to get maybe frustrated with Senator Gillibrand or Schumer or Rubio or whoever, because maybe they're not saying saying as much as we would like them to say about this topic. But, this whole thing, it's a very complex issue. It's a complex issue for national security. It's a complex issue for trust in government. These folks, they have a political career that they have to, they're playing the long game. So I would just say that we need to, give these politicians that are on the right side of this, such as Schumer, Rounds, Gillibrand, Rubio, Heinrich, and others, we really need to show our appreciation because they've really, really stuck their neck out on this thing. And it's a level of bravery that there are politicians in Washington that simply do not have. So the ones that do have that, let's show our grace, our graciousness, and really show our appreciation. But really, folks, it boils down to, if you're not happy with how this is being treated writ large by the government, only you can change that. So even if this Disclosure Act gets shot down, you get back up and you fight again. You live to fight another day. That's what we do as Americans. That's what we do in other democracy-loving countries. You get up and you fight for what is right. And what is right is the truth. The truth always, always wins. And I especially say that to the folks that I know are watching this that are not friends of this topic, folks that are in the DOD, that are in the IC and the DOE, and you're watching this, and you might be some of these folks that have, let's just say, done some illegal things in regards to this particular topic. And, I would just say to you, sit and ask yourself and look at yourself in the mirror, the decisions you are making on this issue that do not have the input from our elected representatives, that do not follow these decisions that you're making, do not follow what the Constitution says, that does not follow what our founding fathers intended for our country. I would just ask you to just pause and reflect and take a look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, ask yourself this question: me doing these things that you know in your heart are clearly not right, that you know fly in the face of the Constitution, that you know maybe are purely based out of preserving power or influence, or maybe you're a CEO or COO of a defense contractor, say Northrop Grumman or Lockheed Martin. Ask yourself, is it really about money? Is that what really defines you? Is that really the mark you want to leave on this planet? Making decisions purely out of greed, or purely out of, supporting some other people in power. I understand there are things that you can't come out about or can't be public because it would jeopardize national security. All of us have said, myself, David Grusch, Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, and others, none of us want to damage national security at all. We're patriots. We love our country. But there comes a time when there are things that are being done that are so out of bounds and are so un-American that you really need to sit down, those of you that have the power to make these decisions and have been making these decisions. Those of you that are SES, Senior Executive Service folks. Those of you in the deputy level people in the Department of Energy, the deputy level people in the Pentagon, sit and just ask yourself, the decisions that you're making that you know in your heart are wrong. They're wrong for the country, they're wrong for the world, and they're wrong for yourself. Ask yourself the decisions that you're making, which you know are wrong, and that have a 100% direct impact on the world your children are going to inherit, is that really what you want to do with your life? Is that really the mark you want to leave when you leave this earthly domain, whatever it is? I think if you search in your heart, you know what you're doing is wrong. You know that it does not serve the national security interests of the United States of America. And I think you know in your heart what you're doing is putting all of us at risk. And what you're doing, the aerospace executives, people in JSOC, people in Office of Global Access in the CIA, people in the Department of Energy, if you stop and you think about it and you're really, really honest with yourself, you know what you're doing is jeopardizing the safety of this nation. And that's not what you signed up for. That's not what you intended to do. And like anything in life, we sometimes all make bad decisions. And some of us that maybe have more power than others, our bad decisions can end up having significant consequences for the people of our nation, of our great nation. Serious consequences for people of the world, because we know that our Five Eyes partners look for guidance in terms of what we are doing on the UAP issue. And my message is take the time, self-reflect, because it is never too late to do the right thing. And I know all of us, we all endeavor to do the right thing. And I know there are good people out there. I know there are good people out there that have made some really bad decisions, maybe out of pressure from others, maybe political pressure, maybe monetary pressure from the defense contractors that maybe donate a significant amount of money in different ways to you and to your campaign, or in other gifting. The world's not, money makes the world go around. We all know that is just a reality of things. But I think all of you that have in DOD, CIA, DOE, and the executives, the C-suite folks in places like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Aerospace Corporation, and others, just really stop and think about what you're doing is not right for the country. And I think deep in your heart, you know that what you're doing is damaging the national security of the United States. And is that really something you want to live with for the rest of your life? I dare say not, because I want to be hopeful about the leaders that we have in this country. And I pray for them that they do the right things. And I pray for these aerospace executives that they do the right thing. Because all of you that have been dealing with that this has been part of your professional portfolio, the UAP issue. Either you're part of the legacy program, you're part of the compartments in the Department of Energy that have been managing this and spending billions of dollars in keeping this whole thing locked down through the classification templates that you've laid on this. You know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there are elements of this, large elements, that you can come clean with the American people that will not harm national security. Full stop. You know it. I know it. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? Is it going to be more of the same for 70 years and just snowball this distrust in the government, increase this national security threat that is UAP? Christopher Mellon, as I mentioned, was on, former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. If folks have not watched our interview with Christopher Mellon, I highly suggest you do. One of the things that he noted is that recent UAP encounters with our military, the UAPs have shown increased aggression, increased signaling of aggression. This is not good. So all of you in DOE, in JSOC, in Office of Global Access, all of you in the Directorate of Science and Technology, in the CIA, all of you in the Department of Energy that have this thing locked up like nobody's business under the Atomic Energy Act of 1954 and I'm blanking, I'm tired here. But the Espionage Act of 1917, your weaponization of this UAP issue, because that is how you have weaponized it out of threats to keep people from talking, it's going to blow back on you, and it's going to blow back big. And I guarantee you, the longer you put this off, because it is going to come out, and the names are going to come out, and the longer you put this out, you put this off, and when the full, we'll just say, barrel of lies comes out, and especially when it comes out about the physical retaliation and the physical harm that many of you have acted upon as part of a mission. It's not going to go well for you. And the American people, when they understand the gravity of what has taken place and the illegality that has taken place and the shareholder outrage towards Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, the sheer shareholder outrage that you will experience, you will rue the day that you did not do the right thing. So now is the time to do the right thing. And I would say to you in closing, look, for 70 years, you guys have kept this locked down. For 70 years, you've managed to keep it secret through intimidation and threats and other kinetic mechanisms. But people know now. We know how you've hidden it. We know the compartments it's hidden in. It is coming out, and we know who the people are. So, do the right thing. You know you want to do the right thing. Put this behind you. I can't even imagine the amount of weight and guilt many of you must carry that are handling this. And do the right thing. You love our country. We love our country. If you love your country, do the right thing. Anyway, thanks, folks. Appreciate the super chats. Appreciate all of that. Again, Lou Elizondo live on the Good Trouble Show, September 15th. We do not have an exact time yet, but we will post it on our X account at Good Trouble Show. I would encourage everyone to follow us on X. That's where we tend to make all of our announcements. We also have Dr. Gary Nolan coming up soon. And so call your representatives, folks in government that are managing this. Do the right thing. Now's the time. This is a chance in your life. This is the chance of your lifetime to do the right thing and to right the wrong. You know you want to do it.